YouTubers, and thank you for tuning in to today's very special video on YouTube, because today's date is Thursday, the 21st of September, yay! So yes, in this video I'm going to be doing something completely and utterly different, but at the same time I'm going to be doing something very much similar to the other vlogs that I did on any other previous Thursday the 21st days I did. I think the last time I did one of those was back in July, where I talked about the McDonald's white loss that I had back then in, what was it, 2019 or 2018? That was like the summer that I failed to lose weight with. And I can't tell, it's not like a taxi, well, just kidding, there isn't. But anyways, in this video, I'm going to be doing something completely and utterly special, and hopefully, today's subject is going to be all about my behind the scenes of my Microsoft Paint animation. So yay, hopefully it's going to look totally and utterly interesting to see, hey? And it'll be very nice just to have a look at some of the things that I've done in the past, and also like in the present day as well. So with that being said, let's just go ahead and start the video, and let's do it! Yay! Also, just to let you know that I'm also going to be doing multiple jump cuts, so I can show you almost anything or everything in this video. So it'll be completely edited along the way, and also there'll be like other videos that have been archived from like other channels, but were actually animated by me. Actually, there are two more things I need to pinpoint before I actually should start this video. I've actually got like a new webcam, because the one that I had previously was actually being very faulty. It just kept on turning off as I was filming well, my videos on YouTube. Well, for YouTube actually, because normally, you know, my videos are just one take wonder type video on YouTube. But today, of course, yes, I'm just basically editing this whole video up via a video editor that I might mention later on, and it will also be featured on my YouTube channel as well too. So with that being said, it's going to look great. And another thing is, I'm about to breach the rules of going to film from like, you know, 10, 11, 12 o'clock, and then like 3, 4, 5 o'clock or something like that though, from like the morning till like the afternoon, and also like the night time as well too. So with that being said, it's going to be quite a massive and very convoluting subject to think upon, because not many people use Microsoft Paint as an animation thingy bob, because Microsoft Paint does not actually, how would you say it, conform it as being like an animation studio. I mean, what makes it really an animation studio is the frame by frame type basis, and also the fact that it also is quite the site where you can draw like pictures and stuff. But with that being said, it's not like an animation software. It's a raster graphics software, just like, you know, GIMP and the others, and the other stuff, I think. I mean, Photoshop is another one, but it lacks those features that you find in either like Procreate or Photoshop, these types of, you know, sites if you want to do like digital art. And Microsoft Paint is very different to, like, let's just say Macromedia, Adobe Flash, or Animate as it's called, and like Toon Boom Animation and all the other digital animation software program type things. But hopefully I'll show you on how these animations are made, because, you know, I'm going to prove to all of you guys that I do animations on MS Paint just like the other people do, of course. And it's actually relatively busy, and it's also relatively cold because we're going up towards winter. And in the making this video, it's coming up towards like the equinox of autumn time, so the seasons are very much changing. But we'll see how global warming is going to make an impact. But hey, this is all about animations, okay? So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and start right now. Yeah! And also, you know, I don't know what to say. So for the behind the scenes video that I'm actually composing at the moment though, I nearly said another word, didn't I? Of course, yes, I've just composed a massive myriadic file of various animated sprites, be it birds, trees, or plants, or anything else in general. And of course, yes, I've drawn like a picture complexion of Komodo dragon lizards walking and suspending themselves, and hey, they're actually quite nice. And of course, yes, I drew like different frames of various animals in general, like, you know, as if the Komodo dragons were roaring and stuff, and all the other thingamajiggies. In fact, all these model sheets, if I show you in extra large icons, well, some of them have already been archived from other websites, from like other TV shows, or from like other, you know, popular kid shows. Not just that, but also like, you know, video games, movies and such. They're all visuals, aren't they? So yes, I've actually decided to draw like pictures of birds, just like the ones I already provided here, of course. I've actually thought of drawing, maybe try and draw a new. I've actually lost. In fact, the ones I did back then in 2020, the ones I did, unfortunately, I've actually lost the ones that I did. But what I can do in the future is I might try and redraw. Sadly, of course, they weren't really destroyed. They would have been lost or something, though, eh? Like, I mean, back then in 2019 and 2020, and also like once in 2021, I did some hardcore Microsoft Paint animations, and it was something to actually show off my prowess in the way I make stuff. And there's actually a whole bunch of tricks on how I can actually contemplate and animate in various ways, like a flipbook in general, of course. And it's pretty amazing when you think about it. So, with that being said, I should show you my prowess in the way I animate, and also my different techniques and how I can animate on MS Paint, and also play around on MS Paint, because I do know that you can just activate the transparency options so that you can copy and paste pictures fast and more smoothly and easily, of course. And along the way, with that being said, let me just go ahead and show you what this is actually all about, because this is very good and very general advice and very impressive in a way that let me just go to this one here first, this whiskered turn sprite, and I should show you the examples of how it's actually like. I should do a jump cut from now on, because I want to go ahead and talk about what this bird actually has. Okay, so this is the whiskered turn sprite that I've got, and as you can see, this bird actually is quite a very impressive one. And of course, yes, as you may have seen it in various videos before, I think it was the palm grove, I think it was like the palm tree grove shore type video that you've seen. So this is a whiskered tern, which is a seabird, closely related to a seagull, of course. And of course, yes, as you can definitely tell, of course, yes, it's a bird. Not only just that, but you can definitely see on how it actually behaves like a real bird. Although, with that being said, it does have like an extra pose. Like when it sees the Komodo dragon, it actually gets scared. I have to use like a different beak in general. But nevertheless, it is quite a nice looking design. So, as it show you what it looks like. So, as if the bird was landing, it would actually stretch out. It would actually stretch its head and neck, and would actually turn into a pose that looks like that. Okay, so I am contemplating to see what this bird actually behaves to be like, and it's quite a nice looking design. Also, I've designed the way the bird flies in a very perspective point of view, which is nice. It's very beautiful and very amazing. It's so nicely animated. It's so beautiful in its ways, and not gonna lie to you, I really enjoy of how much I've done so far. So I've done like different beak postures and different, how'd you say it? Like a different, how'd you call it? It's like a perspective flying view. It's like it's coming out from like the background and emerging towards like the foreground and stuff. I've also done like the bird feet and stuff, and also in how it actually, how it actually takes off, how it lands, and all that stuff. So it's quite nice. Although the poses aren't really that perfect, okay, but there is another bird I would like to show you there. Like, if I show you a house crow, if I just type in the house crow, as you can see, it's all assembled in a sprite sheet, once again. Yes, just like in video games, they're all assembled in a sprite sheet. As you can definitely tell, going by the neck and stuff, you can see there's the house crow as it just takes off. And if I show you another one, let me just go ahead and click on another house crow sprite. So, voila, there's another one here. This one's a walk cycle, but let me try and type in the one of where the crow is actually flying. So let me just show it to you in a very precise and very concise sort of mannerism as well. So we've got some poses of the crow as if it was squawking and stuff, or cawing as they call it there, or cawing. I don't know how my accent can accentuate many words and stuff. But as you can see, as if the crow was taking off and flying away, you can definitely see that the neck and the head is actually tweened. It's kind of like, well, it's a little bit like tweening. Well, I think that's my way of tweening and keyframing, and very importantly enough, like, comparing to other animations, I don't actually add that much in the way of keyframing, mainly because my animations are meant to be like very quick and very simple to make. But in reality, they actually take a very long time to make, because as I've gone through like the many animations I've done in the past, especially ones way before my YouTube channel has started, I've actually designed like very rough and ready animations with less and less detail. Less details often tend to be quite cheap, but with that being said, it can speed up the process. But with that being said, it doesn't actually conform to on how I tend to actually animate. And this is something like I've got like different poses, different postures. So I showed like the monkey. There you go. There's the monkey here. There you go. I can actually you can see how many faces I've drawn and different postures I've drawn. So I must have really researched in the way how animals move and such. I must have botched up from like Shutterstock type stock images of animated critters and stuff. And another example is a kingfisher. This is an amazing water bird. Like when it actually comes to land, it actually closes its wings like so, as you can see. I've also made like multiples and multiples of poses and spare appendages like legs and stuff. Like these legs here, I just sort of animate those as well and re-render those as well too. And that being said, they can be very difficult to animate, because when you animate something which is real, they actually require so many tweening and so much keyframing as well too, just to simulate. If you want to animate something which is very real, you might as well double, triple, or quadruple, or maybe quintuple the amount of frames for a much more smoother animation. But for me, I'm actually kind of a bit of a sucker for like smoother animations, because most of the time whenever I animate, my animations are mainly quicker. But there is a very big solution to that of all problems alike, and let me just show you on how I actually compose and compress in the way I animate. And what do you think about my lum pictures on the top that I've just added onto my wall? They're actually really excellent. Also these birds and the monkeys as well too. I mean, what do you think, guys? What do you think about those things up on the wall? They look quite fancy, don't they? Okay, one thing I've just mentioned, I've just got back from college and it's actually kind of busy in the afternoon, and I've just had my seafood, I think it was a chili flavoured seafood flavoured noodles I had so far. They were yummy and delicious. I mean, thanks to I think it was my mother who purchased them, and my dad actually sent them. I'm just going to close this door for a while because I want to show you. Yeah, I'm just going to close almost entirely everything because it's getting quite busy, and I'm going to show you something. Okay, so where I left off is something that I've actually of course, yes, I was going to be talking about this in the morning, but I just thought the first attempt of it wasn't really great. So here I'm going to show you on how I'm actually going to, what am I going to say next, don't I? Here's the pictures folder that I've got at the moment. But the one I'm actually going to look out for is this file here. I'm going to go for animation, sprites, and backgrounds. Noticing my computer interface is a bit different because I've got like different programs and stuff. And oh wow, it's a nice picture of, is that a monkey? Oh, how cool is that, hey? Without monkeying around, sorry for the pun, I'm just going to show you how things are being animated. So here are the frames that I've there. Of course, I'm just going to double check on the thing that I'm on at the moment. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab those. I can either press choose files. So when I'm making a GIF, I would often either go ahead and press on that button or drag and drop, and then I can press this button here. Okay, so as I'm in this animated GIF maker, I have loads and lots of options. I can toggle a range of frames, which would be fairly nice. And of course, yes, yeah, that looks very, very nice. And normally I don't often use it in the way of keyframes, as I said before. Again, the third time again, I might be totally wrong. So with me speaking clearly, after I have my noodles, this is of course the animated GIF maker. Now what's very impressive about this GIF maker is that after making the frames, I can select how long the delay time is. Like if I go to 1, you can actually change the speed of one
one out of 1/100th of a second, and while changing it can reset your it can reset the delay for all frames. Sorry, my mouth is going a little bit sloppy. And there's a loop count, as I've actually discovered, that you can change how many frames you want, or like how long do you really want your animation to go for. I mean, how much longer the hell do you really want to have it, without being too vulgar. Sorry about being too sloppy for a talker. Let me just go for 1. And when I press enter, or when you press this button, whammo, look at that. Voila, look at this, guys. This is how I animate rain. And I can actually change the speed as well too. And if I go to number 2, look how fast and jittery it is. Look at that. So this is how I exactly animate rain. It doesn't actually have to be that exactly perfect. And if I choose 3, and when I type in a different number, it changes the speed and also the pace of the frame rate as well. The frame rate actually changes. Then also I click on save, and what is that? It says, what is that? It's order to, you can actually edit the frames and toggle the frames together. You can actually change the order of the frames. There's actually different special effects that you can use on the animation that you can do at the moment. There's also like a reverse and an optimized, how would you call it, option. And there's also like different things like sensors overlaying on other things. Of course, there's the speed as well, of how fast you want it to be or how slow do you want it to be. You can split the frames, of course. I'll talk about splitting frames later on, and there's effects here as well, which is very nice. You can also add like effects onto your frames. You can actually add like different types of frames. It's a little bit like using Procreate, but this is almost a little bit like, or maybe Adobe After Effects or Premiere, I think. And it's quite a nice looking video. Of course, it's a nice little website that you can add like special effects and other stuff. And you can do almost anything. You can just basically change the colors of it, change the orientation of the picture itself or the GIF, or you can change the presets of the the GIF that you're working on. You can even change the background color, and you could definitely change it to more of this color here. Maybe let's see what happens if I apply that. Oh, it becomes like a totally different color. Maybe if I try and select this color, let me just see if I do that. Oh, that's weird, eh? I don't know why. Maybe if I apply this, that's strange. It becomes a totally different color. You can also reverse the GIF as well. You can add like a reverse factor in it, which is actually totally nice. Oh my crikeys, I'm just testing out all the different things with this website. It's a very fascinating website that if you want to go ahead and modify your animated clips and your GIFs, now that's actually totally interesting. I might as well do a jump cut, because there's also another thing I want to show you before I should go ahead and show you almost entirely of everything. Okay, I've just grabbed 2 bottles of water because my throat was starting to get a little bit funny, and my mind was also starting to get completely fried, so my brain is totally fried because I don't know what to say, of course. But yes, in this video I am showing you the behind the scenes and how I make my animations. And then after actually, making a GIF by selecting and creating by using like full frames with this rainy day sort of effect, of course, the next thing I do is I just simply click like download, of course, or save. And then after clicking on save, I should show you on, maybe if I just go on to easy GIF, let me just show you a GIF, for example. This is one I've made, and I think this is the final GIF that I've created. So with that being said, let me just show you the GIFs that I've created last month, which was August the 31st, which was also Malaysia's Independence Day. Sorry, that was just me jerking with my hands because I just noticed I just loaded another one. So there you go. Okay, so all of this is done via Microsoft Paint. Now, and once again, this is also done via the Easy GIF Maker. Now, another thing I often tend to do is I often tend to drag and drop these finished projects, or projects as we're going to pronounce them. The next thing I often do is that I publish them and then drag and drop these images or these GIFs into like a VC. I think there was a video editor. I think it's called VSDC Video Editor, and for me it's a bit much more better than using Windows Movie Maker, because you can do almost entirely everything, even though it actually has some premium add-ons, of course. So as you can see, I've just animated the birds. It's a bit, well, it's the animation itself. It's about, I don't know how many frames per second. It's about 24 frames per second. Normally, as I've animated, it's about 24 frames per second. But there's also like other animated GIFs that I've actually created in the past, like the other dancing birds, of course. I don't know how many GIFs have I actually have done before in the past. Maybe if I try and go to like downloads and stuff, if I type in like another one, let me just scroll down how many I've got. There's so many photos with that name here. Like if I go towards, let me just find one which is actually visually interesting. Maybe like 35. 35 might be a nice one. Oh, here it is. This one here is a much faster paced animation I did, and I actually did a combination of different things. So I used like bigger numbers of how much frame rate and how fast or slow the frame rate do I want the birds to be like. But nevertheless, it's quite a nice looking rendition and how I animate the birds. It's actually quite interesting. You can see how fast. Also noticing on just how smooth and fluid in the way they're actually behaving a little bit more like a 60 frames per second or 30 frames per second type animation in the way and how, look how fast and jittery this hornbill at the very middle part of this animation. You can just see it how it actually works. And look at him shaking and rubbing his wings. You can definitely tell he's actually having a fun time dancing to some sort of generic tropical music. I'll throw a title up on the one that I've used on a video that I did back in June of this year. It seems like this year I've actually done a whole bunch of animations, more so than Flip Up Toys, although I need to think about that for the late part of the year. Yeah, so I basically have changed the pace and the speed of the animations, and also I kept this. You know, it's a great way on how I compose, the way I animate things, and also the compositions. Yeah, the skills I use are great. The composition skills are totally amazing. Luckily enough, I've kept it like that in the way that is much more interesting and much more visually interesting than what other people can pretty much perceive upon. It's a very nice animation that I did. And, of course, yes, it's interesting. Like, if you think about the animations that I did back then in 2019 and the other few in 2020, and also one in 2021, and also some demo videos I did in 2018, which were like train themes. I think it was like a Tom's and Friends themed version, but then I decided to straddle away from that theme because I was just kind of moving on to other stuff. But yeah, if I just close that, you can see how different the frame rates of the animations. So yes, I do change the frame rates just to sort of change and also synchronize within the rhythms and stuff. So this is how I do. Yeah, this is how I actually visualize and how I compose my animations, and also sort of formulate the way I tend to animate. And it's a great way. It's a very visually interesting way on how I do stuff. It's quite a very nice way of not just expressing yourself, but also just to help others inspire and make theirs be like yours, or even mine, of course. And of course, yes, once again, we've got some very excellent composition skills. My only criticism will have to be this yellow bird. I wish he would have been a little bit smaller than him, and same with that blue bird. I think he needs to be a little bit smaller than him as well, probably because they're based on real birds. But nevertheless, it is quite a very nice little animation piece I did. The only problem I've noticed is that because I actually had to add another frame within that animation, the one thing that was literally happening was that, you know, I had to actually add another frame, a frame within another frame, because somehow that video editor didn't like the extra frame, so it just did a cutout. So just cut off the other frame and just left off a frame that has been already left off, a frame that has been already left off, and just it was like an animation that has almost gone like into a state of technical difficulties. But anyways, I should show you the video editor, but first off I need to show you the monkey first, because I'm going to show you how the running cycle is like. But there's also like different poses as well. I can also have, so this is what I've been doing. I've created the monkey with like different face postures, like as if he was happy. I could do ones like if he was sad or scared or angry, or in a sense maybe he's lost his temper or something. I don't know, it's kind of a bit strange. And this is, once again, it's in a sprite sheet on a blank background, and I assembled the monkey frames in general. I also made some very extra space, so that I had to contend with the amount of space I had to use in order to make my animations look all great, and not just all perfectly great. I also had to smoothen out some, just to make sure that the animation is spacious and plentiful amount of room. In fact, in general, sorry, I'm actually going into a typo mode, into a very bad state of typo, which is like very bad English, lost in translation, that sort of thing. But as I'm making the whole video, it's quite a very impressive way on how I compose and also structure-wise and also assimilate video game style. It's like that with video games, making up like sprites. You know, I could look up a picture of Mario or Sonic. You know, they've got like very good, you know, video game sprites, and that's that. They do like amazing video game sprites, and they also have like a transparent background like that. And their sprites are much smaller than mine's. But I'm doing more in the way of movie / you know, short animations, rather than, let's say, for video games, because I think it's more purposefully entertaining to watch than, let's say, play, in my opinion, because playing can be quite hazardous, maybe because you get too addicted to it, or maybe rage quitting. That's the thing about gaming. But anyways, let me move on to another technique that I've actually used. Okay, let me just type on long-tailed monkey running poses. I think it's this one here. So this one here is definitely the one I'm going to be talking about, because as you can see, this sprite here is similar to that sprite there. In fact, both of them are similar. But the reason why I did this is because I want to make sure that the run cycle is consistent and also perfectly synchronized. You know, perfectly sequenced. Sorry, I should have said the word sequence, not synchronized. So perfectly sequenced overall. As you can see, the monkey is literally running. Sometimes I can just move away from that sprite and move on to a different one, but you know, so often that I do sometimes. Some of these frames are keyframes. Maybe this one here might be a keyframe. I'm quite curious if that is a keyframe. That is actually, you know, interesting and also pretty important to think about it. And you know, the way I animate is not that bad after all. It actually is quite great. And I actually took some inspiration from an already existed GIF. And if I go towards here, if I go to split, I think there's a few GIFs. Let me just go to downloads. Hopefully it's got like bigger screens in general. Let me just scroll down to what we have. I've also got some videos I've just downloaded earlier on. Yeah, it actually is not too bad actually. So with that being said, let me just see the ones I've just done so far. Okay, so we've got some bigger icons. I've got some wallpapers here as well. And I think it's this one here, or these two here. I think it's either this GIF or that GIF. Let me just show you this one here first. So this is what I've taken some huge inspiration from, and as you can see, this is a very smooth. Most importantly, look how properly nuanced and properly. I think it's probably one of the most proper ways on how people actually animate. You can just see in how athletic the monkey is, and also look how much power in that muscles. Look all that strength that it's got. So there you go. These are the frames that I often tend to split. I often copy these poses. So I would have actually used this as a genuine base for this monkey here. So I would have used that as my style, while using this as a genuine reference. And overall it actually doesn't look too bad, and the way that I've been animating isn't really too bad after all. It doesn't really seem to be that well detailed, but it actually is quite very well pronounced. You know, in the way I sequence, I often tend to, how do you say it, orderify, if that's a word, hey? Organize the monkey sprites, these pictures here, in a very organized mannerism, and how they go in sequence wise. Yeah, that's how I seem to do it. Of course, you can definitely see on how they run and how they walk. It's very, very nice actually, and it's a great way on how you can show off your prowess in the way you animate stuff. And this is what it's like. It's a very nice way. If I show you another monkey GIF that I've got, let me just grab the white snowy monkey right there, which is this one here. Yeah, that looks great. So this is what I've got in my computer actually, and this is what I tend to do. So I take some inspiration from like already existed GIFs, and then like sort of, you know, translate those and sort of use these keyframes and reference those to via here. Like I sort of, you know, it's almost kind of like rotoscoping, well, it's not really rotoscoping. This is actually more like of me just emulating an already existing image while using my style at the same time, as if, you know, it's moving in the same direction and moving in the same sort of, you know, sort of doing thing in general. And that's that. I just simply replicate on how a monkey runs, and that's it. There's also like other ways I can also sort of, you know, enhance myself. Like if I go ahead into the diagonal range, I can just show to you, there you go, I can just show it to you, I can just show my prowess in the way I animate, you know. Oh sorry, I mean it doesn't have to be that perfect, you know, that's just the way and how animations work. They don't have to be that, you know, 100% top notch and perfect and all that stuff, you know. That's the way and how I seem to, you know, think of the world now these days, as a nice realization type thing. Okay, maybe if I try and, I don't know, maybe let me just see. Oh, it's a bit thicker, the raindrops. Maybe if I try and go to here, maybe, yeah, it's a bit interesting. It's almost a bit difficult to keep them in sync with the raindrops themselves. It's a little bit difficult sometimes when you just try and, you know, rearrange on the pictures that you're trying to copy and paste and all that kind of thing in general. So I'm just doing this as a way of organizing stuff. There you go. I'm just doing this as a bit of general evidence. This is a complete body of evidence, which is nice to know. And there you go. I'm just doing the same thing. So this is how I animate. Okay, so I just do sequence stuff, sequences like this. There you go. I just simply, and if I try and zoom in, there you go, it makes things a lot much more concise. You can just see on how much hard work am I just putting up, and then once I'm done, you know, this is how I seem to animate. You know, it don't have to be that perfect. And, you know, with rain, it doesn't have to be that perfect, because in reality, rain is actually very erratic because of wind and all of that whatnot. And I'll just go ahead and save that. I think I'm going to call it rain number 2, which would be nice. And so this is how I work on, you know, on a frame by frame type basis. And as I said before, this is very similar to traditional hand-drawn animation. Unlike Adobe Animate or Adobe Flash, we we're going to call it, or any other animation system like TEMBER animation and all the other animation programs that you've got. This is how I animate. Like, there's no, like, you know, classic tweenings and shape tweenings and all the other stuff like that. So it doesn't have that feature. So you can't utilize. There's no. Well, one thing about MS Paint that really lacks is the lack of the things you know, animation programs utilize. And that's something, isn't it? Like, they really lack, like, you know, on where things move and all that stuff. And it's kind of, you know, in the way and how it actually works. And most importantly, it's more to do with art rather than, let's say, animating, if you want to make like moving pictures and stuff. But of course, yes, this is how I easily organize. And there's also like cool brushes here, so you've got like these amazing, fantastic brushes. Pardon me, sorry about that. So there's all kinds of different brushes, and most importantly, I often tend to use them for like, you know, textured effects. Like if I go to this bird here, I've actually used like, I think it was like a natural pencil or watercolor or oil. I'll use several different textures, like, you know, marker pens and airbrushes and stuff. So I use these for realism effects. There's crayons, markers for like transparencies and translucencies of various colors in general. And I can also use like a natural pencil and a watercolor brush. You know, there's so many things, and I can heavily show it to you via a background, or even in this case a background prop. If I just show you the full finished background, like so, which is this one here, that's how it's been done. Okay, so this is how it's actually already been done, and as you can see on how it's been organised and stuff, and you can definitely see these trees here aren't actually drawn by me. They're actually trees done via Baldi's Basics, but the ones I've done are those trees which look like these, which I call them the clammy cherry trees. I think the bright green ones and that shade of green, and also these trees on the background as well too. They're actually done by me. This one here I believe is a palm tree. I think it's a palm tree, but it looks a bit very, very nice. Now, but most importantly, if you look at the bus stop, you can definitely see I've added like a textured effect. There's tone, you know, on the background. Things they actually tend to appear darker, as you can definitely tell. And strangely enough, I've also overlapped the shadow effect on the bus stop with the tree shadow effect, of course. And I mean, it's not that perfect, but it actually paints a very interesting and a very good looking picture on how things have been organised, and also how things work, and also how art is being done in a way that other people have done it before. Like, this is in a way that people are reminiscent of, and it's also reminiscent in a way that how composition works as well, most importantly. Anyways, let me move on into the post-production type method. So let's do it. I think it's very well worth it to go onto VSDC free video editor, and if I click on it here, and of course yes, I'll wait for it to load. This is the major program on how I make like complex videos, be it live action or animated in general, of course. There you go, it's loading, and overall this is like the main primary sort of video editing software that I actually use. It's also much more useful than, let's say, Windows Movie Maker, because, you know, if you use Windows Movie Maker and you have to add like so many frames, and you also have to utilize, you have to do it repetitively, you have to do it over and over and over again, you have to do the same thing repetitively. Well, there's not much room to carry that many sound effects on Windows Movie Maker if you want to make like an animated film or an animated short. But if I should show you the one that I did, which is this one here, which is the Happy Murder Day one, as you can see on how things work, this is what I often tend to use. Okay, so all you can see, there's like little sounds and stuff. It's quite a very impressive way. It's actually really useful to utilize loads and loads of different sounds. I use music. Sometimes I can change the pitch of the sounds, and of course, yes, whenever I, you know, animate my animations, I often tend to put like background noises and background sounds. I'll play the animation for you, well, but not fully, because I want to show you how I compose sound effects. I also, you know, when you know, edit stuff around here, I also change the volume of the sound just to make things audible enough for people, or what they can hear and stuff. And also another thing in general is that when I sort of play around with this animation thing, oops, sorry, what did I do? That was not meant to happen. Sorry about that one, boys and girls. I didn't mean to press the arrow key. That was my bad, actually. Sorry about that. What I tend to do, if I try and, here we go, this is how it actually works. I often add like sound effects, and perfectly synchronizing the sounds of the birds. If I turn the volume up, I should show you how it actually works. So, with VSDC Video Editor, you can just juxtapose and just plonk anything all over in the place. It's an amazing video editing software. You can just do anything with it. The animations are just pretty simple to do. I actually enjoy so much in the way of post-production. Well, I do love animating, which can be quite time-consuming, but of course, yes, I enjoy post-production so much, and that's why some of the animations I do, which are very enjoyable, can be very relatively fast-paced and fast-made in certain times. Let's just click on preview and see what it's like. And if I turn the volume up, you can hear the birds calling. Overall, this is a very classic way on how I animate my animations, and you know, with the bird noises, you can definitely tell how well perfectly lip-synced they are. If I go to the crow one, which I think it's the one which I think is one of my favourite sound effects, the one with the crow squawking sound. Maybe if I delete this sound effect here, you can definitely hear only one sound effect in this one. Let me just show it to you. Only one sound effect. And this is how I organise the sounds and stuff. There you go. You can hear the minor bird synchronising with the sound effect. Okay, this is very impressive. Whenever I animate the birds, and when they're like vocalising and stuff, I often add the sound effects as a way of lip syncing on what noises they actually make, and it's very, very nice. Also, very, very nicely enough, you can also see on how I compose the background. This is another very good example of composition. When things are in the water, or when viewed from the water, when you've got things that are on the ground, you also have another visuality right over at the water edge, and when you're viewing right down underneath the water, you can also see or notice that there's some things which are literally upside down, be it like in a very big perspective downwards view, or like, you know, a small one, I think. Let's just play it like so, as you can definitely tell. Oops, sorry, that was my bad. Maybe if I go back to what the animation was like. Okay, I hope I've got everything utilised here. Hopefully everything's back in good shape. There we go, we've got the animation playing overall. So this is my second time of you guys showing to you guys of watching this video, because this is general evidence and a complete full body of evidence on the way I make animations. Also, I had a bit of humour into it. There you go. It's a bit, wow. It's a bit, wow, jittery, because my computer is, well, it's a bit old, that's why. Funnily enough, that bird looks quite totally dopey with those bulging eyes. I mean, look at the eyes, they're just bulging because that heron's about to be knocked over by a bus. You can hear that scream as well. I'll just let you guys hear it again. And for the third time. Also, that dun 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 sound effect also gives you a bit of a genuine compositional representation that something bad's about to happen. Like, if I show it to you again, that minor bird is fearing for himself, because that heron is about to get run over by a bus, or accidentally get to, how would you say it, is about to fly over to that bus and accidentally hit it, or accidentally collide next to a bus. Here it is. There you go. It's all about visuals, as you can see here, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Okay, I think this is probably one of the least accurate of all animations I've done. I've done a bus, which is like designed after the one I've made as like a toy in a sense. It's obviously designed after Disney Pixar's Cars, of course. But the way I've made this bus, I think it's a little disappointing, because I think the eye movement and the eyebrows were kind of a little bit, well, they're not really the best. I'm trying my hardest to make it really concise. Well, the blinking is a bit, well, it's a bit off sequenced, which I think is, for me, probably my very, very worst moments of animating this bus. But I will try and do much more better sprites than that, and hopefully in the near future, if I have some time, we'll just let the bus go. Here you go. I think the size accuracy is a bit rough here. It's not really that great. But as you can see, I love how they actually move. It's a bit fast paced and a bit quick. And, okay. Okay, I better turn off the music because I've already got music provided on the animation because I don't want to hit with a copyright claim. So the birds are just dancing. You can see how they dance. It's the same, isn't it? So I just add like music at the very end. And more rarely, in a sense, I add like a copyright sort of thing at the back. I could try and edit this out and add like music. I think it was called, I don't know what it was. I have to throw that title again. I'm sorry. I just keep on losing that name. But nevertheless, this is how I actually do. Like, once I'm really happy with the full and the whole animation. In fact, when I was making this animation, I actually did both animating and also post-production. But I did the whole post-production thing all the way on the 30th of August. And I also uploaded the whole video on the 31st of August. So once I'm done, I can just export the project. And then hopefully once I'm done, if I go to my YouTube channel, or I was watching a video, thank you Roxas, you got me convinced here. So I go to my channel, and if I show you the video that I've just uploaded, let me just scroll down here. Okay, there's the one I've made. This is the one I've actually currently made. Hopefully I've got everything concise. So everything is all done in a very nice sequence, as you can definitely tell. So I normally upload this into AVI because I haven't got like a 1080. Well, unfortunately, the animations that I use, they're not really that 1080. I don't think they've got like a, well, maybe because my VSDC video editor version isn't really that, doesn't really support that many HD stuff. It's mainly for like 480 and 360 type HP type videos in terms of the quality they tend to normally utilize. But maybe I should try and do that maybe in another time. If I try and update this and make it like a very nice version of the one I'm using at the moment. Maybe one thing I should do, maybe one day, maybe tonight, I don't know. So apart from here, there's also like other videos, so maybe I should try and make a playlist of various animations that I've done so far. Maybe like, if I go ahead and create a new playlist, if I go to like one of my previous, I think it was one of the first MS Paint animations that I did. Let me try and do some animations that I did. I think there was ones back in like 2020, I think. Let me just try and search for the ones that I did. I did this one here for February 2020. Yeah, actually very good animations in general. Hey, let me just see which one of those is which. It had like, I can't really remember which one it was. It had like a beach theme. Ah, it was this one here. It was one of the first animations I've made back in the past. Do you remember this? Well, I'm not sure if you guys have probably seen this because this was way before I went to like Pink College in general. So this is when I started to become like a real amateur of animating stuff. There's a seagull flying and the video is buffering. So this is a seagull just, I think it was hit by a wind farm, like an offshore wind farm type thing. So this is what I was animating back then. I was a big marine buff. I think I was into like coastal biology back then. There you go. And there's also another animation that I did. I remember watching this, you know, I remember making this. It was just so bloody fun. Like, I remember making like very simplistic animations with not much detailing. It was all just, you know, just a just like a one tone color, like a lessly detailed type animation. Here's another one I might show it to you before my animations were much more better. So this is what I've done. Okay, so my animations were only using like one color at a time. Hang on. Was that thunder outside? I'm just hoping it's not thunder outside. I hope it's not one of those dash cam, webcam type activity videos. Now this is what I did. And there you go. I also used a bit of 3D techniques. Look at that! Look at this, guys! Oh my god! Look at that! So this is how I normally turn the water animations. They're not really the best. You got the birds flying, it's just swimming past through a pair of wind farms. We've also got some, I think we've got some ducks coming up later. That look beautiful. I think these were eider ducks. They're quite amazing. They make these sort of woo sounds, you know. In fact, it actually is more reminiscent of like amateur cartoons. It reminds me of like, you know, animations that were done in like Newsground and stuff. But it's like the good old fashioned ways of animation. I used to add like random clouds and stuff because I just kept those clouds as static images. But here comes the funny part. Well, not so funny part. Here comes the bird being hit by the wind farm. Freaking hell! That's just weird. In 2019, I actually spent my life doing loads and loads of animations. Oh my goodness! I used to be this so good at animating water. I think this is like anime water. Oh my crikeys! That is just, wow, totally ace, mate. I mean, I just used like simplistic shapes. Now, while animating water, well, the main thing about animating water is that when you think about it, it's always erratic, and it obviously has a very random movement. As you can definitely tell, whenever I animate water, it's not always that. Well, it's a very dynamic thing. You know, there's different like shapes, different tones, different movements and stuff. And it's like my own way of how water actually works and how it's been animated. It's actually quite a nice way on how things have been animated. It's a great composter actually. Whoa! How cool is that, hey? That's an amazing animation I've done. I've done like a swimming bird. Wow, look at them! I mean, this is purely very rough animation that I did. He looks like a furry, that bird. I mean, the way he was swimming looks very much furry-like. So yeah, it's not really the best, but that's what I've done. Okay, so hey, that's a very nice one I've done. It's actually quite great. Yeah, it's already done from, it's actually heavily inspired by a Pokemon anime intro because I was a big fan of Pokemon back then. Yeah, I've actually was pretty much bad at drawing wings and stuff because I was mainly focusing on like, as if the bird was more human-like than, let's just say, a bird. If that's the right or wrong thing to say. So I'm just showing off some of my previous animations that I did back then in 2019 and 2018. And I think I remember doing these a long time ago. And I mean, these were very rough and ready animations back then. If I type in MS Paint, yeah, these are actually very good, you know. Nothing too bad, hey? And I mean, that's great. You know, it's actually very nice. I've actually done, I think one of the most interesting ones I've done was this. This was back in 2020. One of the first ones I did so far in the mid to late part of 2020. That was a very good time, actually, when I did that. That was amazing. Oh, man. I actually worked on in another college, way before Pink College. The feet look so big! I mean, they're so humongous! I mean, crikeys! Also think about composition. I like the trees in the foreground. Oh my god. Giant eagles, oh my god, I think they're Pidgeots from Pokemon, animated. There you go, there's the crow here. I wish that the crow was actually passing by the palm tree on the background, but doesn't matter. You know, this is actually one of the other animations I did. Now, this was the time when I actually started to become, you know, a lot much more consensually, you know, detailed. So, with that being said, I actually added some further details on the trees. Like, I gave this tree like a two-tone of colours. I added like tans and whites and also browns on the top. Of course, I added like blacks or greys in it just to make it more realistic. And I thought, nah, that'll do, babe. That will do. There was also more trees in the background. I think they were derived from like Baldi's Basics. Again, I used to remember playing that. I also did some background items as well, just to showcase of what they really were. It was only just a one-frame background. There was nothing else around because I was contending of how much detail I actually had to add in general, but nevertheless it is quite good in its various ways. I like how the tree's been designed, you know. Oh yes, I remember animating the squirrel. That was amazing, although I feel like the line is a bit too jittery. I think that's something, this actually feels more like a traditional hand-drawn animation, because of how the cell is just moving and stuff. That's great. Excellent. Oh man, hopefully after watching this animation, I might probably redraw these sprites, while keeping them in the same sort of format. Hopefully for maybe for next year, eh? That'd be great. You can see how much movement the bird is. You can see that crow is walking pretty realistically. Oh my goodness. This is why even before AI was heavily mentioned. Oh my goodness. Now that is totally amazing. Wow. Those pigeons, they weren't really great in the way I've animated them, but I can make even more better pigeons. They're actually quite great, you know. I can hear the seagull. Oh yes. Oh, the background just slightly optimized. It just optimized in a bit of size there, so it just expanded into a tiny bit of size. Look at that! Whoa! You see they're doing tap dancing. Look at this, guys! Whoa! Now that is just amazing. Look at how the gulls actually work and walk as well. Most importantly, I say walk. You say work. Bit of music. Oh wow! Look at this, guys! I just animated into a bit of a blue tit action. The blue tits disappear in this video. Wait for it. There's actually one blue tit. Wait for it. There's one. Yep, one of them disappeared. And now it's gone back to two. Oh, freaking hell. Crikeys. I just missed that mistake, man. So, in this video, it's not just the behind the scenes of my Microsoft Paint animations as of today, but also in previous years I've done so far in previous videos alike. So I'm just going to show my prowess and stuff. Let's take a look at another animated video I did. Oh yes, the Scooby-Doo Goes to McDonald's video. How could you never go wrong with that? That's just weird. I also did an animation with, there's like a Thomas and Friends sort of themed animation I did. I might play that as well too. That's amazing. They're great. Oh, look at them. I was actually having a... Oh! Pigeon flies away. There you go. So I'm using a new webcam, guys. Now, this is a much better webcam that I'm using at the moment because... Wow, it's a nice kingfisher, eh? Can't believe... Oh my crikeys! Oh my god! I just literally made that sound. That was me the whole time making that sound, you know. Scooby-Doo going to Scooby-Doo actually going to McDonald's and just eating a frickin' burger. I mean, that is just rad and weird. I mean, how preposterously weird could this get? Look at that. It's making me hungry. Wow. Oh my frickin' hell. Bit of chicken nuggets, bit of fries. That's just weird. And then you just got him totally fat. Okay, we've got Stuart Ashton's here. That's just weird. And a bit of comment that says burger eater. Fucking hell. Let's just play a Thomas and Friends one, see how it's like. I'm pretty curious. I think it's not thunder. I think it's cars going by. I'm sorry if I misconceptionally thought it was thunder outside. Maybe it's those giant clouds that are outside. Maybe. But anyways, I'm just playing a few animations I did back then in 2019. And also did like a Thomas and Friends themed one. That's nice. There you go. So you can definitely tell that's Thomas and Friends. Hey! I used to be a bit of a rail buff, you know. There you go, I've learned how to animate trains and stuff. I think the thing I really suck on animating trains is how the trains move along and then there's smoke coming out. Oh, lovely goldfinches, they're beautiful. That's the same from that Scooby-Doo animated video that I did. Oh my goodness, this is amazing. I totally forgot the names of the characters. Oh my god, I love that. This is amazing. Like, the way I animated this is just superb, guys. I mean, the way I animate, my animations today are so different compared to the ones I did in the past. You know, you can see how Thomas the Tank puffs along. I think it's Tomash. I call him Tomash because he's meant to be like a hybrid between Thomas the Tank and I used to be a Pokemon fan, you know, Ash Ketchum. So his name is like a hybrid of the two fictional characters. And because I seem to suck at animating trains, I even seem to animate the connecting rods and stuff and how trains actually work. I should show it to you again. There you go, you can see how the trains... Actually, there's Thomas the Tank. I call him Tom Ash because he's got like that logo that looks like Ash Ketchum from Pokemon. See that? That's him, and I've just called him Andre and Clarabelle. It's like Annie and Clarabelle, there we go. It's puffing away, as you can see, and there's the smoke just dissipating up to the higher ground. Now that is totally amazing. And it's a much different program that I used to utilize all of the frames and convert them into GIFs. And I think it was called GFI, which is like a low aspect ratio type program. Whenever I animate videos and whatnot for my animation thingamajiggies via MS Paint. Sorry if I'm speaking roughly today, because I just feel like I must have totally missed the mark or missed everything. And let me go into a waterfall animation, which is actually quite nice. So this is what I've done. It's another way of showing off my prowess on how I create stuff and how I, you know, it's usually, people my generation, often create the best. I'll just turn this volume a bit down so that I don't want to disturb people and stuff. But you can hear this bird is vocalizing. Whoa, that's a big pelican. Look at that. That's just amazing. Is that thunder on the background? I can't really tell. It might be planes outside. But, was it the cars? I think it's the traffic. Oh, freaking hell! Oh my goodness. That's just an amazing animation. And there's actually a dogfish shark coming to eat the... You go, I've added a bit of texture, but it wasn't really that... the only things I don't actually seem to, add on my animations is detailing on the backgrounds. That was when I was starting to feel like, being unrealistic. But, I think this is meant to be based on a waterfall out of Thailand, I think. But nevertheless, it is quite a nice animation I've got, like a waterfall theme mixed with coral reefs. And there's one, I have to say guys, that there's so many animations I would like to play around with. I'm sorry guys, I think that's about it, because I'm off into post-production mode while making this video. So if you really enjoyed my Microsoft Paint videos of late, of course, with backgrounds, sometimes, I think unless it's like water themed or water related, I would actually add like movements, like this background. It actually had to require like 12 or 13 poses of the water. It had like 13 images. It's like, if I played this, which had the Komodo dragon in it, let me just show you. I think this will be my final time showing it to you, showing all the animations alike. You can see how fast-paced the animation is done. You can see how many. It's about 13 frames in the way I animated that coastal beach theme. I think it's based on the Komodo Islands, where the Komodo dragon lizards live in. And look how much detail the sand is. And also these trees. They've also got a bit much more shadowy sort of perspective views in it. It's actually nice shading, isn't it, guys? Very nice. Anyways, I think that's about it in this behind-the-scenes video. If you really enjoyed this video, please give this video a like, subscribe for more fun videos in the future, and as always, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye for now. I shall probably leave it from now on, because I think I've spoken so much now. Bye!